Hey, y'all. Tommy here with Storage Pug. Welcome to Gabfocus number 49. Melissa, our
Gosh,
49th.
49?
Yeah, in addition to the Gap Fest that we did, this is our 49th episode, which is insane. So I'm glad to get to celebrate with you.
That's
But
crazy.
how are you? How are things in Chattanooga today?
Fantastic. Super hot. It is officially June in
Here
Tennessee,
in
that's
East
for sure.
Tennessee, that's
It
right.
took a minute to get there, but we are in summer
We
now.
are
And
fully there.
and speaking of 50 episodes, we just hit 50 on the podcast too.
There we go. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Happy 50.
Very
But y'all, welcome to another episode. If this is your first time to Gabfocus, welcome. I'm your co-host, Tommy. This is going to be a great show. We've got two of the coolest people in self-storage. And not only are they cool, they know what they're talking about when it comes to operations, which is what this show is all about today. Welcome. So it's optimizing your day-to-day. And of course, if you are a Gabfocus fan, welcome back. We love to have you. I'm seeing all these names already. So glad to have you all here. But today's experts, we've got Denise Boley and Kevin Mullis. Denise, welcome back to the Gabfocus stage. How in the world are you, sister?
I'm good, Tommy. How are you doing?
I'm so well. I know you've got lots of exciting things going on in your world. There's two little babies in the Boley family of things. First one time in 18 years, but 30 years in the industry, and self-storage science is overseeing 40 total facilities. Give us the 30-second on how you got into the storage business and what's your role looking like today in 2023.
Well, like Melissa, I started as a manager, but it was 30 years ago. And then I kind of just worked my way into ownership. I asked to buy in, and the managing member talked some of the other members into selling me a small percentage of theirs. So that's how I got into the ownership. And then he had
real quick.
other.
So you can just do that?
That's awesome.
Well, Tommy, I think you have to have a little skill.
You got
She's like, listen, guys, I know what I'm doing. And
oh my God, that's amazing.
That's exactly how it went, Melissa.
That's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah,
Shout
so
out.
that's how it all started. And then we've just picked up management projects here or there. We own 6 properties, and they're included in that total, but that changes. If we sell some, or our clients sell some, and our clients are always buying more. So the remote management thing has been interesting to me. It's not my favorite part of operations, but I had a great crew at my pack mail store, and I said, why don't we just open a call center? So we opened a call center. I have all of my trusted staff members in the call center taking care of all of the remote locations, and a brand new crew at the pack mail store, and they're great too.
There we go.
So,
I'm excited to get into that. I think that's a topic that a lot of people are either curious about, they either love or they hate, and I'm excited to kind of get your take on those things. So welcome back, Denise, and congrats. 30 years, started as a store manager, and then convince some owner to be like, hey, give me some. Give me some.
Tommy, he even took me to the bank and sat me in front of the loan officer and said, give her the money to buy in.
Girl, that's awesome. Proud of you. So all you managers in this room, they're do that.
That
and
is
of course,
incredible.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. I love these stories, right? Because Stephanie Tharp's got a similar story. Melissa's, I mean, it's really cool. So welcome. And of course, first time as a Gabfocus speaker, Kevin Mullis, welcome to the party, man. How have you been?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me today.
We're so glad to have you too. When I think of like kind, charming, friendly store manager who cares about the business, like Kevin Mullis is in the dictionary for that, man. So I'm stoked to have you on board. So I believe you've been in storage for 5 years, all with the same family, which I think says a whole lot. So shout out Eric Case and the Case family to kind of believe in you. But give the audience a quick overview, man. How did you get into self-storage, and what's a day-to-day look like for you these days?
Yeah. So back in 2017, I was looking for a job. Everywhere I looked, it was either have to have this many years experience, you need this, and nothing was checking the boxes. So my good friend Eric called me up one day and he's like, "Hey, I think this would be a good fit for you. You want to give it a shot?" So gave it a shot, and it's worked. So
Now, we're
That's
excited to have
awesome.
you here for that, man. So, what's a normal day for you looking like these days?
yeah. So last year I actually picked up another store, and we actually went fully remote with that. So I have one store that I am here from pretty much 9 to 5 every day. And then I go check on the other store, run it remotely. And so, both of them have their pros and cons, but I really do love being a part of kind of a hybrid mix of that.
Okay, yeah. So I'm excited to pull from all of these experience, right? So Denise, like multiple decades of experience, right? And Kevin, like this hybrid style, right? So I think all of that's going to play really nicely together with the conversation we're about to have today. So again, y'all, welcome to Gabfocus. If you're brand new, we're so glad to have you. Melissa and I are your co-hosts. We're excited. Honestly, this is one of Melissa's favorite topics, and it's one of my top 3 for sure. And Gabfocus, by the way, is brought to you by our lovely teams in Knoxville and Chattanooga, Storage Pug and Lighthouse Storage Solutions. Gabfocus set up like this. We're going to go for about an hour, live Q&A. What's cool is we've got a handful of amazing questions that were curated before the show. Y'all can submit your own questions in Zoom. Just down below, click on the Q&A. I'm already seeing questions flow through there, so that's actually kind of cool and kind of exciting. So we'll get to those throughout the show. Today's topics, though, we're going to talk about daily tasks. We're talking about processes and technology. We're talking about marketing. We're going to go do a lightning round. And I think, Melissa, one of the cool things about these topics is like, if you're an operator and you're in the day-to-day, like you have to touch on all of these things to some degree, right? If you're doing it well, at least, right?
Yep, every one of them. And they all, like we talked about before, play into the customer experience. So this is how you complete that picture for the customer. So these are vitally important, even though some of these on their own seem really, really insignificant.
Exactly.
It's actually a big part.
It is. It's a major part, right? So for each of those topics, what we're going to do is a little bit unique today. We're going to ask these 4 questions. We're going to put these 4 lenses on. So first is like, given a topic, how do we do it the right way? What are the best practices, right? What are the pitfalls? How do you track it? How do you measure it? And then, of course, if you're measuring it, how do you improve it and how do you grow? So, all to say, I'm excited. Melissa, let's kick us off.
All right, let's do this. We're going to start with those daily tasks. Someone wants to rent a unit. So let's hit those four questions. How you do it the right way, the wrong way, how to track it, and how to improve it. You guys just want to tag team this one?
I don't mind going first, Melissa.
All right.
We can rent units a lot of different ways now. Bottom line is you want that credit card number so you can take the payment, and you want the lease signed. We have started paying our remote property managers $10 for every unit that they close immediately on the phone.
Ooh.
So if someone calls and they rent the unit right then and there, they keep a log of all of those and they're compensated for that. But we go in and make sure that they've got insurance, they're on auto pay, the lease is signed. So we prefer just to rent them over the phone or online, honestly. I mean, that's the easiest way to secure the lease.
Okay.
Yep. I would say for me, I try to get everybody to go online. I'm the type, I don't really prefer to take a credit card over the phone just for security purposes. And so we have normally when I get a phone call, I just send them a link straight to our website and let them know that, hey, you can go ahead and secure this online, or you can come into the store and we can do it that way. But if you send them a link directly to your web page, if you're able to text that over and they can secure that right then, it works.
That's
Okay.
cool. Yeah.
So, Kevin, you mentioned one thing you don't like is the lack of security by doing it over the phone. Would you consider that to be a pitfall that some people actually, try to tackle in online rentals or in over the phone rentals? Is there anything else too that you would name as, okay, this is probably a problem when you're trying to, move someone in?
Let me think if there's anything that I would consider. Um, really, I would prefer just an online rental over getting it over the phone, just because if you have a manager that's not as skilled with selling insurance, of course, we do require it now. But our website, it makes sure you have all of those boxes checked, and there's really no having to go back and check that over a manager. So
Good point. I like that.
No, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
and what's different now is that more people are renting online or over the phone.
yes.
In lieu of coming to the property and the manager being able to show the unit and making the connection. So that, to me, if you're looking for a pitfall, is the connection with the customer is not there like it used to be.
How do you fix that, Denise?
Yeah.
Well, we fix it because one of our operations manager actually calls every single person that moves in, and we also
Love it.
send out handwritten thank you notes. So that's how we try to recapture that relationship.
Wow.
Okay.
I
A
love the way.
handwritten thank you note. I love that.
Yeah,
That
that's
is
a great way
awesome.
to solve that. How do you track? How do y'all go about tracking rentals from all the different sources, right? Like you mentioned, in person, on the phone, online, through the website. How are y'all tracking these unit activities?
We use an amazing internet provider or website provider, Storage Pug. Not sure
Oh,
if you've
those
heard of
guys.
them. But yeah,
Aren't they
I
purple?
mean,
Right?
I think so, something like that. But
I'll Venmo you your commission check.
but yeah, I mean, Storage Pug, they have a great way of tracking all of that website activity for you. If you're using a good management software, you should have all of that tracked for you as well. To where all you have to really do is print out a report and just compare your data.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool.
Just need to confirm that who's putting the data in is putting it in correctly and not
Exactly.
incorrectly.
Yes.
Point.
That's
There's always a human at the other side of that, isn't there?
Yes, that is true.
I love that. So how, so you're tracking all this stuff. That's cool. How do you improve? How do you grow? How do you make that, that renting experience better over time if you're not quite a 5 out of 5 star operation yet?
I think, Tommy, just remembering that you've always got to change and innovate and look for new ways to capture a move in and for ways to make it easier. So the other day we took a call here. Jason and David are managing one of our properties. It's a small property that we just own ourselves, and they're managing it. So they're taking the calls. And I'm listening to all of the calls that are incoming, but I'm not taking them. They are. And just like Kevin, David said, well, here's the link to our website. Go rent it. And I thought, oh no, we've lost him. He'll never do it. And he did. He ended up renting online. And personally, I have never told anyone to do that. I just want to grab them right then and there.
Yeah.
And so innovation. And Kevin's got it right there, and David had it right earlier this week when he said go to our website and rent it.
That's cool.
And Denise, it's like you said just a bit ago as well. I mean, there's always a person on the other end of that. So as long as you have someone who is good on the phone, capturing, making sure that all the boxes are checked before you tell that customer, hey, go rent online. I mean, if you're picking up the phone just saying, hey, just go rent it online. If you're being kind of put offish about it, obviously that is not going to work. But if you have someone who is skilled on the phone, making sure all the boxes are checked before you get to that point, 9 times out of 10, it works.
That's a good point, Kevin, because
Such
one
a
of
good
those
point.
can say, like, one way it sounds like, I don't want to deal with you. Just go to our
Exactly.
website.
Yes.
And the other one says, you know what, I can take care of you better if you actually use our automated system, and then I can follow up. I'll see when it comes through the system and make sure that all the information's there. If you have a problem, give me a call back, and you can still maintain the touch that you need without actually doing the process.
That's a
Exactly.
killer distinction, man. Kevin, do you want to, can we role play for a second? Is that cool with you?
Sure.
All
Sure,
right,
that
let's
works.
go. All right. So you're Kevin and I'm Tommy, and I want to rent a storage unit at Bob White Self Storage. But which, by the way, that's one of the facilities that Kevin oversees. So just Google Bob White Self Storage and you should find him. So let's say I want a unit, right? So ring, 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 ring.
Thank you for calling Bob White Self Storage. This is Kevin. How can I help you today?
Kevin, I'm looking for a storage unit, man. What do you guys got available today?
Yeah, we have anything from a small unit all the way up to a large size unit. If you wouldn't mind, give me a few brief description of what you're storing, and I can help you find a size that best fits your needs.
Yeah, I got like a mattress. I got like a dresser drawer. I've got like a 20 foot U-Haul. I was thinking like a 5x5 would like fit everything.
Always.
Oh, love it.
I tell you that and that right there. I mean, that happens so often that, you know, I mean, you just kind of threw me off the call, of course, but it happens so often to where you have to put those skills in.
Yeah. That's the customer that calls and says, I need the smallest unit you've got.
Yes.
Well, exactly.
No, you probably don't.
Yeah.
So
no, what I love that, I mean, first of all, you introduced yourself, you were friendly and you were kind, right? Like that already, I'm already going to buy from you, period. Right. Like within those first 2 seconds, 4 seconds, I know that I'm going to buy from you regardless. Right. And then you started diagnosing, you started asking me questions, which lovely. Right. And you did it so naturally. And I wasn't even that friendly. So man, you know, so I can imagine how the rest of the call would go. So kudos, Kevin. That's awesome, man.
Okay, so just to interrupt real quick, Matt Roberts put a chat that is really related to the move in and move out process that I think would be good to probably go ahead and address.
Yeah, let's read it. Let's hear it.
What do you feel like are the most important informational materials to give and or discussions to have with the tenant during or shortly after acquiring them? Also, what about the same thing in regards to the move out process as well?
So let's talk about the renting process now, because we'll get to move outs in a moment.
Right.
That's a great question, Matt. So yeah, Denise, you want to take that first?
Yeah, I mean, I think you need to make sure they have their gate instructions, their insurance information, vital statistics about the property, such as access hours, business hours, how to contact us, all of that information. Inform them of when their rent is due. Hopefully you've got them on auto pay, but you still need to let them know. If you've got a QR code for a review, you want to make sure that they have that at the time. We also give everyone a map. Now, if it's in person, one thing that I've always been adamant about not doing is not giving the gate code on a business card. And so many people do that, but to me, you're just if you leave that card laying around or you drop it, you know, you're moving. So everything is unorganized to begin with. And I just don't want our gate codes on our business card all over town.
No, that's wise. Yeah. Kevin, any other materials that y'all have put up, whether it's digital or printed out? What kind of information are you sharing with customers before they rent?
Yeah, Denise pretty much checked everything. One thing I do like to do is text the information to that customer, text or email. That way they always have that on their phone. Of course, we all get the calls after hours, you know, 8 o'clock at night, they're trying to get into the gate. What's my gate code? And so if they can just pull that up in a text on their phone from our store contact, it kind of eliminates that. It's helped us out a lot.
That's awesome. I'll
as
share
well as the map.
Yeah, the map is handy for sure. I'll share this from like some of our top operators, what they've done, and what we've actually tried to mimic on the website is, y'all know the top questions that you get from your own customers. Create an FAQ, create a guide, right? The top 5, top 10, top 3, top 50, right? And ask those, answer those questions on your website. So I think that's number one. And then you can just text them that link too. And then, well, Stephanie Winfrey, I think she's the one who said that she actually prints out some of the answers and puts it around the building, which I think is a lovely lovely thing to do, right? Number two is explain to them what the move out process looks like, which is very interesting on the front end to do that during the sales process, which I thought was kind of cool. And the third thing that a lot of operators like to do is to make sure that they have some sort of size guide or map or some sort of, hey, here's what fits, right? And that way it's just a visual representation. So Matt, I think that was a great that's a great question, man. And we'll get into the move out in a moment. But our second daily task. So what someone's renting. So I think some of the cool operators, some of the top operators segment out renting a unit and moving into a unit. Right. A lot of people kind of group that together, but really from a customer, like Melissa said, from a customer experience, that's two different things for me. Right.
Right.
One, I have so many questions during the rental process that, Kevin will answer kindly, but then moving in is a whole different thing. I'm getting sweaty. Right. So let's answer those same four questions, right? How to do it right, how to do it wrong. So let's start with how to do it right. What are the right things? What are the best practices that operators can do to assist the customer during the move-in process?
I would say for those customers that are moving in during business hours, if you're a manager that, 90% of the time you're sitting at the office waiting for that next phone call to come in. If you're out on property, just doing a property check and you notice someone is out there sweating, like you said, go grab them a water bottle out of your office. Make that impression on them. The more you do that, the more you build trust with that customer, the more they're going to refer people to you, and it just builds a long-lasting relationship.
Love it.
Yeah, and I think you have to have a manager who knows how to shift from sales to customer service within an hour, because you're selling when you're renting, and when they're moving in, it's customer service. We also like to drive by just to make sure there's everything being stored is supposed to be stored, that there's no hazardous materials. So we'll drive up and ask them how the move's going and just kind of look in the unit to see what's going on.
You get to be Snoopy while you're talking.
A little bit, right? That's kind of like customer experience for the other customers.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's cool. So what are some pitfalls? What are some things that you have either seen people do, or maybe you've done it yourself that you don't do anymore when it comes to assisting the customer during their move-in process?
Well, I would not physically assist them. I'm not going to move their furniture in for them, and would not want any of our customers, our staff members, to do so. However, we did just buy a multi-story, and it has a freight elevator, and we are contemplating offering a move-in special per Jason. It says, and it is literally a move-in special. We will move you in if you will just rent one of the units upstairs. So that would be the only exception. But I would not do that. I wouldn't help them move in physically.
You having anything that during the move-in process that are pitfalls or things to watch out for even?
Honestly, I can't think of anything that I have done during the move-in process that I would regret. So
No.
I think the biggest one, Kevin, you kind of hit on earlier. And if you do the rental process right, you kind of head it off. And that's making sure that you give them all the information in a text message or an email, so that when they are on site and they're hot and sweaty and tired, and it's probably after hours, they can scan through their emails or their text message and find the information that they need. And that's going to keep them from getting really upset. So
Yeah. No,
that's
I love
a good
that.
point.
You can't assume that they heard everything, right? Or read everything.
Right.
During the rental or the move-in process.
Well, and 90% of the time during the day when someone's moving in, the last thing they are thinking about is everything you're sitting there telling them. They want to get in, pay for the unit, get out. They'll worry about the rest later.
Yeah, no, that's real. So let's continue down the customer's journey here real quick. So they moved in, they're cool, they're hanging out. So now it's time for them to move out, right? So what are the best practices for the move out process? And once a customer is ready to get all their things off your facility?
I'd say making sure that we don't require any type of notice, as long as they're out by the last day of the month, have their lock taken off. Just make sure they are understanding of that process. Make sure everything is out of the unit. make sure that lock's taken off. I mean, how many times have we cut a lock for auction, lifted that door, and nothing is in it? You know, we weren't notified. So I would say just really make sure you nail that hard on them too. Whenever you see them, it looks like somebody's moving out, always just stop and say, hey, just make sure if you're vacating, everything's out, the lock's off. And of course you can hit that during the move-in process too, but 90% of the time it's not, they're not going to remember that.
So those, I mean, those sound like good best practices. Pitfalls, anything during the move out process that to avoid or to prevent headaches in the future?
I think a lot of our managers struggle with the fact that we're month to month, and the customer also struggles with the fact that we're month to month. Even though we told them when they moved in, we would not be prorating their rent when they move out, they still expect us to do so.
Yeah.
And we don't. And it is so hard time after time when customers want a refund or they just want to pay for a few days. That's one of the most difficult things that I see our managers have to deal with pretty frequently. The customers have been told, they just didn't listen. It's in the lease, which they didn't read. But for the most part, we just tell them, well, you get to have it for another month, so you don't have to be in a hurry to move out.
Exactly.
So Danielle made a comment in the chat. Do you think it's necessary to have the stickers above your latch that say when vacating, leave empty and take lock? I've also heard of people putting signs inside the unit door that kind of gives those instructions and just general information. Do you guys do any of that, especially like on a remote location?
I would say if you do anything, take her advice she just gave, put something inside the unit. We have had those above the latch in previous years, and they fade, they wear out. And that's one of those things, eventually after a sticker gets baked in the sun, you're going to have to scrape off, and it just makes the door junky. So.
And I kind of think, after all this time, I just realized that people are going to leave junk behind. No matter what you do, no matter what you say, and you're going to have to clean it out. Most cities and waste companies will lease out roll-off dumpsters, and you just have to bring them in, fill them up, and they take them away.
Wow. Yeah, it's just part of the life.
It happens. Yep.
Yeah. So how do you track, how do you track the move out process, right? How do you track if customers are doing it on time, leaving stuff behind, following your policies? What's that look like?
So we look at reports, Tommy. If someone moves out at the end of the month, but then our manager doesn't move them out until the 1st, they have to write off those charges as bad debt for the whole month, unless they backdate the move out. And I really don't like that to happen unless the 1st is on a Sunday. So we just view the reports to make sure everyone is moving out on time. If anyone did get prorated, if charges were written off, and we don't really track if they leave anything behind or not.
So Anthony has a question that kind of goes along with this. What is your policy if you find a unit vacant after cutting the lock? I know the cutting the lock process is later in a delinquency, but what if you find out then that they actually already moved out and you've kind of done the lien process?
Most of the time I've learned that it's better to just cut your losses, write that off, and then re-rent that unit back out. It's not worth trying to go after the customer, trying to recover. You're never going to see the money. I mean, you're just not. And why create a bad reputation with that customer when you could just write it off and re-rent that unit, just make your revenue back?
Yeah, and that probably shouldn't be happening very often if you're in communication with your tenants the way that you need to be. If they've not paid, collection starts day 1. And if they're not responding by phone, text them or email them, try your very best so that doesn't happen.
Exactly.
Wow. There you have it. Yeah. So during this, I'm imagining the rigmarole of being a store operator or store manager there, right? So customers got to pay, right? And of course, we know all the different ways that customers pay and all the different situations that come in, right? But what are some of the best practices when it comes to collecting payment?
I require every.
Go ahead,
Go ahead,
Kevin.
Denise.
No, you go
I
ahead.
require everyone that rents with me to go on auto pay now. It's just easier that way, especially if you word it right. If you word it as, would you like to go on auto pay today? Who wants to do that, right? So I've learned as soon as they come in, you ask for their driver's license, ask for a card to put on file for auto pay. And then just whenever you're going over that lease, just let them know that'll be drafted on the 1st of each month, and include that as part of your lease that they're signing, agreeing to being able to run that card every month.
Do you have some tenants that just refuse to do that?
I never have any that refuse during the move-in process anymore. If I do, if they're adamant, I will tell them you're more than welcome to go online. However, I'm out of the office, I'm out on property a lot. So if you catch me and I'm not in the office, you can go ahead and make that over online. We actually just implemented a new practice as well. It's through SpiderDoor, our gate provider, to where they can call our office, press 1, and it'll take the payment for them over the phone. So without me. So
shout out
That's awesome.
SpiderDoor. That's
Yes.
awesome.
But you set the precedent right from the beginning that I might not always be in the office. So if you're trying to come in and make a cash payment or a check payment and want to actually see me, that might not even happen.
right.
Your other option really is to go online and pay if you don't do auto pay. Okay. I like that.
Melissa, Judy's got a question in the chat saying that her customers can't pay online if they're past due and have a late fee, and she's wondering why. And I think it might have to do with your software, Judy.
Mhm.
You have it set up to where past due customers cannot pay online, or they can't pay unless they pay the full amount. So go into your settings and see how your payments are set up.
Yeah, that's great advice. I know our websites will respect that particular setting from the software, and if the software says this customer can't pay because they're late, then the website won't let them. And there's multiple different configuration options, and everyone's got their own policies. I think you even set like allow people to pay if they're up to this number of days late. So if they're like after 90 days, they can't pay. So there's lots of different rules. So Judy, hopefully that's helpful. There you go.
On
Ginny
the topic
says
of
hers is 30 days is what Ginny allows. So
on the topic of credit cards, do you guys charge? Do you pass along a processing fee to your tenants?
No.
We don't.
Yeah.
And I don't like it when people do it to me either.
hey, Denise, you said that's it, right? Like I understand small businesses, right? And a lot of times it is these smaller boutiques or these small restaurants, and I understand margins are thin, but it's like, just bake that into your price.
Yeah,
Right.
put it in the
Exactly.
price.
Right.
Let's move on.
Same thing for the over the phone payments. Like just you're either going to take the payment or you're not, but work it into your rate increases that you're doing. It should be part of what you're charging for rent.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Our water company charges 4% to get put on auto pay or pay online. I drive to the water company every month to give them a check.
Yes.
Just so I
Yes.
don't have to pay that
It's
thing.
that
Like
nickel and
here
diming.
Yeah. Now you get to pay to take my check to the bank.
Yeah.
Melissa, that's great. I love it. What are pitfalls of payments? I think Kevin, you mentioned something at the beginning of like you prefer not to do it over the phone for security reasons. I love that. I think that's a great pitfall to avoid. But what are other pitfalls when it comes to accepting or taking payments? Whether they're on time or late.
I would
Just know
say
who you're-
after. Go ahead.
Just know who you're talking to. If you can't reach the tenant, you call the alternate. Please don't leave a message that you're collecting rent. Follow all of the standard best practices for collections, because it can get you in trouble. If you leave a voicemail and a wife doesn't know that the rent hasn't been paid, you could cause some conflict between a husband and wife. So just One other thing I like to do when we're doing collections is a sense of urgency. So and so, this is Denise at such and such. I need to speak with you urgently about your unit. If it's someone who does not call back, and they call right back.
Right.
I
I like
love
that. Don't mention that it's about collections.
No,
You know,
we
they
just,
don't
it
know
is
what it's about.
urgent.
No,
Okay.
that's a great clip. I like
I
that.
like that.
That's cool. Yeah, so it's not quite HIPAA, but but treat it like so.
Yes.
Right.
No, that makes sense. Related to our theme here, so like tracking of payments, like what are some of the ways that you're tracking who's paying on time and who's not paying on time? And I imagine you probably know the subset of customers who are always late, right? So how do you go about tracking those things?
Our management software does a great job of tracking those that are delinquent. But it goes right along with what you were just saying. You do have those that every month, they're going to be late. That they're going to have the same excuse that they had last month. And it's that same every month of, well, the drill. We're going to stick to our best practices, and here's one of my pet peeves that I see managers do so often. Do not waive a late fee on someone who is consistently late. They know their due date. They know it's nonsense.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Waiving the late fee should be for the good customer that you never have to charge a late fee, and their credit card expiration got missed and now suddenly they're late after 2 years of paying on time. Waive their
Exactly.
late fee.
Right.
The jerk that pays late every month for 6 months, don't waive his fee. He needs to
and
pay it.
Melissa, I don't even think he's a jerk because he's paid me over $500 extra every year.
Yes, I agree with that too.
Yeah.
That's
You know,
great
and
income.
we attempt to make collection calls, text calls, emails 3 times a week at every property. But I think it's important to remember that you can't compare every property. It depends on what they have stored. So notoriously, boat and RV folks pay on time. And if you have a facility in a market where people are living paycheck to paycheck, they can't pay every month on time.
Right.
So I think it's important to kind of keep it in perspective, that not all facilities are going to be the same as far as collections go.
Very true.
That's cool. There's so many questions in the Q&A about payments. Since we're on this topic,
Yeah.
let's just hit them. Melissa, you want to start with
So can we talk about remote locations just a minute? We haven't really hit on that very much. What is the process for the payments at the remote locations? We talked about, after a certain number of days, we no longer take online payments. Well, how does that work if it's a remote location? You're going to make them drive 20 miles to a different location to make a payment in person, or are you going to accept a credit card? So there's some nuances that remote locations, you kind of have to operate it a little bit differently. So what is your all's take on that?
The one thing we've not had a problem with at our remote locations are payments. We send out notice when we take over a new location and tell them it is credit card only. You can get set up on autopay or pay online, but there is no one available to take a check, a cash, or money order. And we don't have a lot of issues with collecting payments. Some of the locations we use Da Vinci lock systems, some of them we don't. It just depends on the market and whether it's needed or not.
Okay.
At my remote location, we do still I will allow a customer to drop off a money order through our door drop box. I go and check that property every day, just as if it were manned. So there's a walkthrough done there every day.
Cool.
And I do, like I said, I do allow checks and money orders still through a door drop box. So
That's great.
So Eric, I can kind of speak to that a little bit from experience. When I was with my last company, we did truly have some remote locations that were several hours from the nearest manager, and we would allow credit card payments right up till the end. Even if they were making a payment on something that had already entered lien status, my only requirement was that you had to sign your receipt. It did not count as paid until we had a signed signature on that receipt, which we would send through our post or something like that, just an easy click and sign, so that I had proof in case they, challenged the charge on the card later, I had something to
You
fight
had
back
proof.
with. Mhm.
Right.
That's
Yep.
cool. We've mentioned our post multiple sessions. I'm going to put a link to it in case the audience hadn't had a chance to check it out. It's a great way to send certified email and e-signature. It's a great tool and pretty affordable from what I've seen. So,
Yeah.
Eric,
And
yes,
it is a way around, like Kevin was saying earlier, taking the payments over the phone. If you're not really sure about the tenant and you're like, gosh, I've been trying to get a hold of this person for forever. They're finally giving me their credit card information, and you take it, go the extra step and send them through our post their receipt and make them sign that. And
Yep.
that's a safeguard there where you can protect yourself, especially if it's that customer you don't really feel sure about. And that kind of helps all the way around. And then the customer knows that you're serious about this collection as well. So
Yeah.
that might be a solution there.
There you go, Eric. Great question, man. Thank you for asking that. Michelle, I like this question too. Denise, you touched on this, so maybe you can expand a little bit further. Michelle asks, it sounds like your facilities are cashless. How do you go about migrating customers who pay via cash and check to credit cards? Your existing customers, that is.
We send out a notice, and those that do not conform, we call them. And if we have to send the check back through the mail with a handwritten note, we will. And sometimes it takes 3 months to get everyone on a credit card, but for the most part, it doesn't. It's just automatic. We ask them to do it. Most of them do it. Those that don't get special treatment, and then they do it.
There you go. I mean, Denise, you're also the person who bought into a business, so like you're more persuasive than your average human. Kevin,
That's true.
any special tips from you, Kevin, about how you guys have migrated existing customers who just don't want to pay via credit card? What's your spiel?
I would say it's about like Denise was saying, you just don't give them a choice really. And I found a lot of it is in the way you word things with people. If you can not ask them to do something, but tell them in a nice way, of course, hey, this is how we're going to do it. Most of the time, I don't get any pushback.
There we go. So what's that fear, right? So Denise, you're fearless. Kevin, you're fearless. What is that fear that managers or owners are having about because this is Michelle, I'm not saying you're fearful, Michelle, but this question gets brought up at Gabfocus quite often is like, what's that migration? So like, how do I fight that fear?
It's people.
I think
Go ahead, Melissa.
I think there's a fear of people moving out. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, it's, if I make them mad, they're going to leave. If they don't do, if I push my way of doing business on them, they're just going to leave.
I think probably with managers, it's more of a fear of having an unhappy customer.
Yeah, I think that Michelle just said the same thing there. It's about delivering a great experience and great customer service. Yeah, so that's real. Yeah, but I think it sounds like given the people who want that little extra special treatment, that's okay. Writing a little handwritten note, I love that, right? And Kevin's advice about just not really giving them the option, saying, hey, this is the way we do business, right? No, I think that's cool. I mean, still related to payments, I mean, Diane, your question of like, what is everyone's late fee breakdown? Melissa, I'm going to let you answer that one.
Check your state to see what the rules are.
There you go. Every state and every jurisdiction is going to have their own little requirements when it comes to the lien process. So Diane, wherever you are in the world, check with your state. And if your state doesn't have one, shoot Melissa an email and she will make sure
Yep.
that you
I'll help you find it.
So awesome. So let's move on a little bit. Let's talk. And Kevin, you talked about, and I love that you said this. Even your remote facility, you're there every day. You're doing your walkthrough. You're doing your whole thing, right? So, like, what are some best practices when it comes to facility walkthroughs?
Make sure you are using a current walkthrough sheet every day. Don't use the one that you've had all month. That make sure all the information on there is current. Make sure all of your locks are locked properly, not just thrown on the latch with the latch not locked in place. Look for those type of things in and make your customers update that. We give customers 72 hours If their unit is not latched properly, we give them 72 hours from the time we send them a notice to have it latched properly, or we will cut the lock and mail them a new keys to their new lock. So
Denise, how do you train your managers to on walkthroughs, especially now that you've got, you know, the remote hybrid setup? I think the audience would love to kind of hear how you guys have developed that.
Yeah, so this is a big question, and it could take forever, but I'm not going to. For the properties that are not remote, I think it's important to remember why you're doing the walkthrough. You know, have people moved out? Has there been a break-in? Are there any maintenance issues? What about the trash? Is the fence okay? Is the gate working? So you have that part of the walkthrough, but you also want to make sure that the computer software and the walkthrough match perfectly. It's one set of cohesive books, because if your computer says one thing, but yet you have 10 vacant units, it's out of balance and you're not operating the way that you should be. So I think it's important to know that you want that walkthrough to match your property management software. For the remote properties, I like the ones that are right here in the same town with me, or just 30 miles down the road. The further we get, the harder it is to manage those locations. We have a boots on the ground at every location. At the end of the week, they're to send us a video of them walking the property, and we upload that to our Google Drive. Once they've proven they've done their work, they get paid, and they work with one or two of our other staff members, senior admin staff members, guide and support the boots on the ground at those remote properties that are located a long way away.
That's a cool way. So you answered the tracking. So yeah, you're asking them to upload a video. I mean, that's kind of innovative. That's cool. I don't know that I've heard that before. So that's a good solution to, are you doing your job?
Yeah.
Melissa, how did y'all, I mean, y'all had facilities that were, like you said, 2-3 hours from the closest human. How did y'all manage it?
So we used Monday.com to track maintenance issues and things like that, whether it was cleaning units or doors broken, you know, trash that needed to be hauled off, whatever it was. And then we also used videos and pictures. Everything was picture documentation. And that way, you know, that employee can say, yep, I did that. Here's the picture of the unit clean, or the picture of the pickup truck that's full of trash now that I'm hauling off, or whatever it may be. But yeah, they would take pictures along the way, and it was all stored on Monday. Yep.
That's cool. That's cool.
You do Melissa, have to jump through some extra hoops when you're dealing with a remote location.
You do. And I just want everyone to know we use Monday.com too. So, I mean, Melissa and I both use Monday.com, boots on the ground, videos and photos. So those are great tools for these remote properties.
Amazing.
It's absolutely possible to run a remote location. You just have to think about it a little bit differently and be a little more proactive, instead of when you're at the property and something happens, you can react to it and just go clean up the mess. Or so you have to be a little more proactive with the remote location and kind of be prepared for, how am I going to handle this situation? How am I going to handle the mattress that gets left behind, because it will happen? How am I going to handle the gate that goes offline in the storm tonight? It will happen. So how do you already have to have kind of those plans already thought out for a remote location and have a plan in place.
Honestly, I think that's a great topic for the future. Like, what's your contingency plans for insert scenario, right?
Yeah.
I love that. So Debbie asked, and so Kevin and Denise, y'all can vote, since we're on the topic of remote facilities. Are your remote stores rural, urban, drive up, climate control, all the above? Kind of talk about your remote properties.
Ours are all of the above.
All the above. Kevin,
ours is in a bigger city, but it's in a smaller portion, so it's kind of off the beaten path. And so
yeah, so you can do it in all.
And I have a mix of drive up and climate control there, so, and parking as well. So
there you go, Debs. Yeah. All right, Melissa, let's get us talking about tech, processes and technology.
Okay, yeah. So communication, and I think that's, our Monday.com was a good segue into
Yes.
that. That's a wonderful communication tool. So talk to us about communications. I think that could be either with your tenant or with your employees.
I would say communication with our tenants. We use everything. We use SiteLink, and so we have predefined text and everything that go out through there. And we actually just implemented a new software system. It's called Open Phone. And so what it is we have our main store, our brick and mortar phone number, transferred to an app. And so all of our calls that come through, we can track what customers have called. We can put them in as a contact. We can see how often they've called, what we've texted them out. And so that's really helped us to be able to communicate easier with tenants. And if they call for the same thing that they called last month, you can just copy, paste, and resend. So
we have a lot of ways to communicate in our company, and I often regret showing or introducing different methods of communication, because if we're submitting PTO, you're supposed to email me. If you just have a quick question, you're supposed to send me a Slack. And if it's an emergency, you should text me. All of this stuff happens at different times throughout the day and night. And I'm like looking for someone's PTO. Did they text it to me? Did they Slack it to me? Was it an email? I mean, it's total chaos. I'm not going to pretend that it isn't, but I'm glad that we have these ways to communicate.
Crazy.
One thing that I absolutely love is that Google allows potential tenants and tenants to send you messages through Google Maps. I don't care what time of the day it is. I don't care what I'm doing. If it comes through on my phone, I'm going to communicate with that customer right then and there. And I love it.
I love that you do that, man. And I love that you called out the chaos. It's not all roses and peaches,
no.
right?
No.
There's a lot of chaos behind the scenes, or it can be, right? Contained chaos, right?
Yeah.
I'll share a storage pug story. So like in our training manual, like every new pug that gets hired, there's a page that talks about communication. So there's an actual paragraph and a video that says, if you ever get an email from Tommy, Matt, or Richard, it's a fake email. We will never email you. And so internally at Storage Pug, we only communicate via Slack if it's a written, otherwise it's in person, right? So we've instead of having 18 different channels for internal communications, everything gets funneled through Slack, and it's made life a lot easier for us. That's not always possible in other realms, but for us, we decided that was the best option. So
I like that.
but I love the contained chaos. Now there was some Q&A. Oh, go ahead, Melissa. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, Denise, it never fails that all of those avenues of communication happen at the exact same time on a Monday at the first of the month.
Yes, it does.
So.
Or at 4 a.m. when I'm the only one up doing payroll and I can't find someone's PTO because I didn't print it and put it in my payroll folder. And I don't know how they sent it to me.
Oh man almighty.
Oh,
Some questions related to communication that are in the Q&A. Matt asked, this is kind of callback to earlier, with the text messaging of like info to customers, the text or the email, are you automating this so that the manager doesn't forget to because they got busy? What's your method of making sure that that gets done? That's a great question, Matt.
So with us, I mean, I am the manager. And so I really don't, I mean, I'm the one that does all of that myself, really. So I don't really have anyone that I oversee that I have to go back on and make sure that this person did this. So that would probably be more of a question for Denise.
Well, we don't send a text with that welcome letter in it, but our remote properties, we do text for communication. And we do have a company phone, or we do it through the software. There's Twilio, if you're using ESS, they offer texting. So you just have to pick your software. Storage Pug also allows you to text their a review link. So you can go into Insights on Storage Pug and send your request for reviews that way. So there's a lot of avenues.
Yeah.
So Matt, lots of options, not a lot that's automated. I think this is more like having people who care and also having processes that make sure that you're able to catch the things that slip through the cracks a little bit, right? And so since we're on it, I mean, and it's related to communication. So Eric asks, what are your best practices for getting Google reviews? This blends into marketing a little bit, but Denise, you mentioned one tool. You can text customers a link to leave your review. What are some other ways for getting reviews on Google?
Asking face to face over the phone, especially once you have provided that, when it's good customer service you've just provided. Always just be sure that you tell them, hey, I would appreciate it. These help me out a lot. If you would leave me a Google review, and even make it a step easier for them. If you have Storage Pug, even just send them that Google review link. That way it's right there on their phone. I've honestly found the best practice. If I know that I hit a home run with someone and I sent them that review link, especially if they tell me, hey, I'm going to leave you a review. If they haven't within 3 to 5 days, send it again. And most of the time, just that follow up, it really helps.
My man, I love that you do that. That's so pro. I'm gonna put it in the comment section here. This is the link that we generated for Kevin that he sends to his customers, and it takes them straight to Google, pops open the box, so it removes any confusion. So shout out Kevin.
You don't want them to have to take multiple steps to get to the step that you want them to take. So one click, that's it.
Yes.
They're at the link, they leave the review and go. It's like clicking the Rent Now button and then it taken to a different page that you then have to click something else to get to the Rent Now button. Your Rent Now button should take you to Rent Now. So make it simple.
Shout out Kevs, man. Melissa, it's 2:58.
I know.
we're halfway through the agenda. We have some great Q&A though, and I don't want to not answer these questions. Is it should we just shift gears and
I
answer?
feel like we come back and we address the rest of this in another show, honestly.
I know.
And,
honestly, Tyler, Garrett, will you guys make a note?
Yeah.
The second half of this agenda is great stuff too, but we're just not gonna have time today, but let's do.
And I think we just bring back Denise and Kevin again and just have them do part 2 because
let's just
you
do
guys
a
are killing it.
Yeah, let's just do a pop-up part 2 episode. Why not? We make the rules.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah. So RSVP later. More details to come. But let's just go down in order. I'll start with Christine. Since we're on communication here, when you're texting, are you using a company phone? Who has the phone? What are you doing? Kevin, we'll start with you, and then Denise, you can go second.
So back to the program I said we used. Of course, you can text through your management software, but the main phone app that we use, it is Open Phone, and you can download that on your desktop, your laptop, a manager's cell phone, and each manager would have their own user on that to be able to log in. So it's kind of just like your management software. You download it and you have your own personal login, but then everyone on your team can see those messages as well. So
love that. Those are good. I mean, that's good advice in general, having everyone on the company be able to see it instead of it's on Sally's iPhone and Sally's on vacation.
Yep.
Right. Denise, any how do y'all do company-wide text messaging?
I think that it is just great that Kevin and I are here because we do things differently a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's nice to have a perspective from 2 different people. Only 2 of our managers have access to our Google business page. No one else. Myself, Allison, Jason. That's it. We take care of all of the social media, all of the Google. We do have a cell phone that travels to whoever's on call for the weekend, just locally. Otherwise, we use Ring Central. So all of our phone numbers are ported into Ring Central. And then on the weekend, one person takes all of those calls. Luckily, they haven't put me in the call queue yet because I don't really want to do that, but I would if I had to. No, we handle all of our Google messaging at an admin level, except for 2 of our managers have access to Google.
I love that. And it's cool because like Kevin does it one way, Denise, you do it another way. Y'all both successful. Melissa has probably a third way, right? That's I think that's cool because none of this is prescriptive, right? Pick the thing that's going to be the best for you, best for your customers, and the best for the bottom line. And I think if you can check all 3 boxes, you're going to be in really good shape. Monica says Ring Central is awesome, and it is. Ring Central and Open Phone are very similar kind of companies. Open Phone's kind of like the newer hip version of Ring Central. Both are amazing platforms. I've used both. So those are great choices to use. So great advice.
And Monica, Tommy, is Tom Gandy's manager. So she works with us. And before we had our call center, Monica took her phone home with her every night and every weekend. And now she just sends me an email requesting PTO. We take her phone and she has no cares whatsoever.
That's the way to treat your people, man.
Yay, Monica.
And shout out Monica, shout out Gabfocus Gandy. Warms my heart. That's cool. I love that. All right. So who's up next on the Q&A here?
All right, Andrew, what remote solutions do you both use for unmanned locations? I know OpenTech has different models of kiosk, and KISS Solutions out of Charlotte, North Carolina has a pretty cool product. Are there others that you both use?
For leasing? Or just in general?
Yeah, in general.
Yeah. Leasing, payments, everything.
All of our leasing comes through the website or over Ring Central, our call center. We love the Da Vinci locks and cameras, of course, videos, like I told you. So they don't have to be high tech to be unmanned or remotely manned.
Amen.
Yep.
I think we got some zingers in this one, man. Like, yeah, you don't have to be high tech to do the virtual stuff. I think that's a big, I don't want to say myth, but I think it's a big barrier for a lot of folks. So I think that's a cool way to put it. Kevin, what about you? What are some of the other tech? I mean, you talked about Open Phone. I know y'all use SiteLink. We know, y'all do for the website. What are some of the other tech that y'all have introduced?
That's pretty much everything we use at a remote store. We use at our man stores as well. Our gate access software. Of course, we use Spider Door, like I said, and each of our customers get an app. They can open the gate from their phone without having to get out in the rain, punch in a code, and get back in their car. But other than that, we use the same everywhere. So
that's cool. There we go. Nick asks, Denise, do you use Da Vinci do you Da Vinci lock vacant units or just late customers wherever you're using those? So do you use them for both vacant and late or just one or the other?
All. And if the customer wants to use the lock, they pay us $25 one-time fee. So if they rent it, they can change the code if they want to. They can change the code on the lock. I don't think we've had anyone do that, but we do offer that. If someone shows up and they don't have a lock, we'll just charge them a $25 one-time fee. So if you go to one of our remote properties that uses Da Vinci locks, every unit is locked. Either with the customer lock or a Da Vinci lock or both.
There you have it. That makes sense. And Nick, I like how you use Da Vinci lock as a verb there.
Yeah.
You use Da Vinci lock.
That's great.
I have a question for Denise as well. So Denise, whenever you charge that $25 fee, do you have an admin fee as well, or is that all one and the same fee?
They would be different. So if you're going to use the Da Vinci lock, that's a separate fee.
Okay, gotcha.
There you go.
Kevin, do you lock your vacant units?
We use tamper tags from Chateau, the easy remove tamper tags. I found that to be a little bit easier for people. And then I just put a lock in the unit and include it in our rental success message and storage pug. It lets people know if you use our lock that's inside the unit, it's a $15 one-time charge. So
Okay.
And then I just go back and make sure any move-ins that month, if they have one of my locks on there, they get charged if they haven't returned it. So
That's cool.
I like it.
Right on. And Nick's been so we built this and I totally forgot that we did. So Nick has iPads at his facilities and he wanted a designated link to rent from the iPad. So that it's not like, because like you go to the website and it's got all the other stuff, right? But if you're already at the store, you don't need all the other stuff. You need just like 2 buttons to click rent. I forgot that we did that project together. So yeah, that's another cool way of doing it. And you can lock it down using different apps. And I think Nick's using Claire Vista is how you lock down an iPad into kiosk mode. So there you go. Shout out to something we built that I forgot. Danielle, we're going to save your question about Facebook for part 2 of this conversation, because marketing is the whole third leg of what we wanted to get into today. So Melissa, you want to ask Joshua's question and we'll go into lightning round.
Yeah. So what is the best practice to find the boots on the ground person with just the limited hours that you need them every week? And Denise, I feel like you have input already.
I can feel the pain.
That looks painful.
That question hurt so bad. It really did. Typically, it's going to be your lawn maintenance crew where you just agree to pay them some additional money. We have a college student doing it at one location, one remote location. So you just have to be creative. We are not paying these people a lot of money, but we're not asking them to do a lot of work. However, we are asking for some of their time. So if it's you get 2 free units, or if it's we're going to add $150 onto the lawn care, however we need to do it, that's what we do. But please run a background check, no matter what.
Exactly. Lawn care is a great solution, and being able to give them a space to use for their business, whether it's a parking space or a unit, to do a little bit of trade-off there is sometimes a really good solution that works really well for both groups. I like that.
There you go. That's cool. I know the lawn care or the groundskeeper, that's a cool angle. I don't think we've heard that on Gabfocus. So that's cool. Kevin, what's your answer? It's you, right?
It's me. It's just me. So
find yourself a Kevin.
I don't have that issue, but
that's what everybody needs. They all just need a Kevin.
Find yourself a Kevin and you're good. So shout out the Case family for finding Kevin. Y'all, this has been awesome. And I'm excited to commit to a part 2, bring these 2 amazing speakers back. So we got lightning round, and we got question of the week, and then we'll wrap up and share some announcements. So lightning round. So y'all have like 10 seconds, maybe 15 seconds to answer these. You can take turns. But Melissa and I will go back and forth. So basically what we want to do is let's build out a day, hour by hour or day by day. I want to build out these protocols, right? So that if someone's trying to build out their operations or their procedures, they can start putting this together for themselves, right? So I'll start. What should happen every day, regardless of the day of the week, day of the month? What should happen every day at your storage business?
walk through.
Yeah.
That'd be the number one. Making sure that you've not had any break-ins. Make sure that your lights are working the way they're supposed to. Anything like that. There was a facility we sold a few years back. I won't name the facility, but the new company that came in, they had not changed the air filter. We knew someone that had still rented a unit there, so they did not change the air filter in their climate control for probably over a year and a half at least. And that's something that when you walk into your buildings, if you hear anything out of the ordinary, if you see anything out of the ordinary, that should be something that's checked every day, whether you're getting up on a ladder or checking it or not. You know, that's something that you should be able to spot right when you walk into your temperature controlled buildings, and even things out on the property, lights, fence, anything like that. So
that's cool. Denise, same to you.
Yeah. Property check, number one, 100% agree with Kevin. Number two, your reminders in your software, run those payments, send those emails. That's probably number two. And cleaning the office area if you have an office, wipe those door handles down, the credit cards, machines, vacuum. I love it when I walk over to our leasing office here and everyone's up cleaning. I'm like, yes, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and it looks so nice.
Yeah.
So when customers walk in, it's refreshed and clean and professional.
It's
And
part of that first
I'll
impression.
Yeah.
I'll tag back off of what Denise just said. The walkthrough first, I would say that's number one. And then back to those credit cards, make sure you do your walkthrough before you run those credit cards, because I mean, why sit there and run a credit card and then be like, oh, I've got to refund that person now. Let me call them and let them know, hey, I accidentally ran your card even though you moved out yesterday evening. So make sure you're checking your property before you get in touch with your management software and reminders.
That's smart.
Good
That
point.
was the longest 15 seconds, Melissa.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe this one will go faster. We'll see. All right. What should happen every single week?
Well, you clean your vacant units every single week. We don't require our managers to clean them every single day, but we do want the units cleaned every single week. We do property checks daily and walkthroughs once or twice a week. So you have to make sure you do walkthroughs, like actually looking at the locks and comparing it to your walkthrough report once or twice a week. I mean, there's a lot that has to be done every week. Check your gate to make sure that it doesn't need to be greased. And also, it depends on where you are demographically. I mean, we've owned properties at the Texas coast where the salt water rusts everything, and we have different maintenance issues there. Or northern Colorado, you have different maintenance issues there too. So you've got to think about where you are demographically, in addition to these little things that you're supposed to do every week.
Good point.
Yeah, that's solid. Kevin, what do you do every week?
Every week, I would say to me, if I see a unit that needs clean, I'm going to clean it. I'm just that type of person. So I'm constantly staying up. So I really don't have anything that's broken down weekly, monthly. I do a walkthrough every day, do a property check every day, make sure that any units that do need cleaning are cleaned. And I've actually started, even if I know a unit was just cleaned the day before, if I have somebody move into that unit, I'm going to go make sure it's clean before they move into it as well, just to be sure.
Shout out, Kevin. So we talk daily, we talk weekly. So now, what are things that should be done every month?
Yeah, change your air filters. If there's any touch-up paint on your bollard post, take care of that. Check your pavement for cracks. In Colorado, we have issues with the concrete heaving in the wintertime, so we have to check that monthly. In Texas, we're going to want to check our water sprinklers to make sure that they're working. And these are things you can just see, but you need to physically do it monthly. So make sure your fire extinguishers are up to date on their inspections, because the fire department is going to come by and you want to make sure they're up to date. Those are just some of the monthly things that we do.
Okay. So what about every quarter?
Yeah, every quarter. It just all repeats over and over again, doesn't it, Melissa?
It does.
Check your vendor list quarterly to make sure that you have W-9s, you're still working with that vendor. Maybe follow up with their work to see if you need to look for a different vendor. That's not something that you need to do every month, but you need to pay attention to who's taking care of your property and how well they're doing it. That's a good suggestion to use quarterly.
I would say set reminders, make a list, set reminders, maybe don't set it for the first of the month, but maybe like the 15th or 16th of the month, you're going to hit your monthly list, and you're going to take some time out on the 15th day, and you're going to go do, like Denise said, and check your air filters and actually do some digging on the property and really look for those things that you just kind of glance over in your regular walkthrough. You're going to pay a little bit closer attention to this specific list each month, and then set another reminder for your quarterly ones, and have those maybe only 4 or 5 things that you're just going to really look at with a closer eye. And maybe it's like she said with season changes, does my HVAC system need to be serviced? How's the gate operating? Because it's so much cheaper to have someone come out and just do a service, just like a general maintenance, as opposed to actually coming out to fix a problem because you haven't looked at it in the last 18 months and you didn't realize that filters haven't been changed, or, you've just completely ignored your gate for that long. So make reminders, because I know how busy it gets as a property manager, and you forget. Things get crazy during certain seasons, and 2 or 3 months can pass, and then you realize that, oh, I haven't checked my air filters in weeks. So just use your calendar.
There you go. Solid advice, y'all. All righty. So thanks for the lightning round. Question of the week. One of my favorite questions that I think we've ever written down. When it comes to day-to-day operations, what sets an average operator apart from the great ones? How do you go from just being good or average to like the best?
I would say following up and making sure all of those boxes are checked. Like Denise was saying, making sure that everything is done once a quarter, every month, every day, making sure those boxes are checked really sets a big impression on your customers. I mean, if your tenants are coming to the property and your gate's broken every single time they're coming, that's not a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's just where we started earlier today. It's getting up and coming to work, even though we don't have to. We want to take care of our properties. We want to support our staff. We want to be there for our customers. Those of us who may have investors, we've got an obligation to them. So it's showing up and doing the work every single day. It's answering those midnight Google messages for someone who randomly wants to rent a 5x5 at midnight. It's those kind of things.
Yeah. Showing up, man. Showing up and following up.
Yeah.
I think those are great answers. Melissa, same question to you. What sets the average ones from the great ones?
I think it's evaluating your customer experience. And that's a big answer that encompasses everything that we've talked about today. But if you, like Denise said, if you always show up, well, if we're showing up with the anticipation of, okay, I'm going to evaluate all my processes based on what the customer experiences from this, whether it's how I clean a unit, how I have my overlock system designed, how my website functions. When you have and you make sure you keep the customer experience at the center of those decisions, then that's going to set you apart from just a regular operator.
Incredible. There you go. Scrutinize every little detail, right?
Mm-hmm.
Be your biggest or worst critic.
Yep.
That's incredible. Well, y'all, Denise, Kevin, I mean, amazing. We've never had to do a part 2 before. And so y'all, thank you for coming out. Denise, what's the best way for the audience to hit you up if they have more questions, they want to learn about you, talk about self-storage science, sell their property to you? What's the how do people find you, Denise?
Well, you can go to our website, selfstoragescience.com, or just call me. My number is 936-635-7030. And I communicate many different ways also: Slack, email, text, whatever, Google.
All the channels. Hit her up on a Monday.
Do me a favor and send me a Google question.
There you go. Kevin, same to you, man. What's the best way for folks to reach out to you to learn how to be a great one, like learn from the best, and be more like you?
You can reach me at my cell phone, 478-662-2115, or you can email me at bobwhiteselfstorageoffice@gmail.com.
There you go. Y'all, thank you for spending so much time and energy and sharing what you know and your passion. I think Melissa and I think that's the thing we love most is like y'all clearly are passionate and care about this, that's amazing. Can't ask for more than that. So thank you. Of course, check us out on all the different channels, talking about channels, right? So storagepug.com/resources, how you can check out all the past sessions. We have a lively Facebook group, and of course, the Gabfocus Self Storage podcast on Spotify and wherever else you listen to podcasts. There's some fun pop-up episodes in addition to a replaying of the live session. So check that out. And of course, last but not least, some announcements. So next time you'll see us July 27th, keeping up with your facility. So a lot of this maintenance stuff, a lot of this stuff that Kevin and Denise touched on, we're going to dive really deep. We're bringing on Jackie and Nigel. So Nigel was a fan favorite from Storage Structures. We had him out last year talking about RVs and building a storage facility. So we're gonna have him talking about maintenance, and then of course Jackie from Everbright Coatings. A lot of people use Everbright to make their facilities look good. So we brought two of the best. So be ready for that. We'll be live 2:00 Eastern time on July 27th. So without further ado, Melissa, is there anything else? Any other fun announcements?
No, not that I know of. Not right now. Just lots of travel coming up.
I know it's
So
gonna be crazy.
lots of
So
shows. Yeah.
be on the lookout for some sort of part 2 to this conversation. So
Yes.
Denise and Kevin, we'll figure out your schedules and our schedules, and we'll do a little pop-up event. I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Yep.
Awesome.
I was just looking at the calendar trying to figure out where in the world we could put this.
I know it may not, part 2 may not happen until next year.
I know it
But
may be next June. We'll see.
stay tuned. Well, y'all, thank you again so much for coming out.
I wanted to thank you, Tommy and Melissa, for putting this on. I know that our staff really enjoys watching Gabfocus, and we're just so appreciative to the both of you, because if you're like me, you don't have a lot of time, and giving it like this is truly appreciated.
That's
Thank
the
you.
Yeah, thanks, y'all. We love it. And honestly, I say this all the time behind the scenes. Like, I feel like my brain is so full of storage knowledge because I get to have like front row seats to experts, you know, and so I get as much joy out of it as y'all do. Trust me. So y'all, much love. Thank you. We'll see y'all next month.